Hi there, I'm Randy Patterson, and this is Psychology Salon, a channel about psychological issues. If you like this kind of thing, click subscribe below. In this series of videos, I'm asking how we guide our behavior. How do we decide what to do, both moment to moment and overall over the long haul? How do I decide which shirt to put on? And how do I decide what my contribution to the world should be? In the last video, I talked about a compass that many of us rely on, impulses. We can simply ask ourselves, what do I feel like doing? And then do that. Have that fifth beer, watch another YouTube video, stay on the couch, eat that chocolate bar, avoid exercise, whatever. And some of our impulses work out well. We feel restless and we go outside for some activity and that pays off. We feel better. Great, but all of us have impulses that don't serve us and that only lead us into unhappiness and discontent with our lives. Every person with a substance abuse issue or any other dependency can easily identify with that idea, but so can everyone else. Most of us can see that we have certain impulses that only lead us into unhealthy activity or to inactivity and withdrawal from the world and from our lives. So the point of this series really is to say, well, fine, what else should I use as my guide? If you've been paying attention to this channel, you know that one of my interests is in helping young adults seize their adulthood and launch forward into a bigger life. And many of the young adults who are dissatisfied or stuck have been using impulse as their guide for some time. Fear or inertia has resulted in more time spent at home, and a lot of the day is spent avoiding things. But if there isn't any impulse to move forward and outward, what else is there? How else do you live your life? For these young adults and many others who are realizing that impulse isn't usually the greatest guide, the other compass seems obvious. Social expectation. If it's not coming from me, it must be coming from them. All those other people and their ideas about how people should live, what they should be doing, what they should look like, how they should behave. In other words, conformity to the demands of society. Impulse sounds better. I'll just do what I feel like doing. You do what you feel like doing. We'll leave each other alone. But let's be clear, we probably will be alone. There are elements of social conformity that are probably a good idea. If we develop a social expectation that people not litter, maybe conforming to that isn't such a problem. I was recently in Japan and noticed three things. First, you get a lot of packaging. Every bit of food, every ounce of produce in the stores, every little towel wipe you get when you sit down at a restaurant, every snack, it's all wrapped in plastic. Japan doesn't seem to have embraced the idea of reducing packaging, so you get a lot of this stuff. Second, despite that, it's really tidy. Walk down the street, there's virtually no litter. Despite all the wrappers and plastic you get in the course of a day, almost none of it winds up on the sidewalks or roads. And third, there are almost no public trash bins. You've just gone through 3 layers of packaging to get at your snack. Where do you put that stuff? In North America, city planners count on us being lazy, probably accurately. They put trash containers on every block because they know a lot of us aren't going to carry litter around for long before throwing it on the ground, which drives me crazy, but that's the way it is. In Japan, lots of trash, no bins. I realized that in Japan there's a strong social expectation that you take care of your own trash. You carry it around with you until you find one of the extremely rare bins, or you take it home and you dispose of it there. Under no circumstances do you litter. And that social expectation and conformity to expectations means that Japanese cities are far more pleasant places to live. There's no litter, People are extremely polite and considerate. Things work well. Public displays of selfishness or temper are rare, and no one gets shocked. There's a lot to be said for conformity to some forms of public expectation. What if you're not in Japan? Well, there are still some expectations that are pretty good. You go to someone's place for dinner and you take something, maybe a bottle of wine. Someone does you a favor, you thank them. You alternate cars when there's a lane closure. You never, under any circumstances, use Bluetooth speakers when you're on a wilderness trail. And you don't play videos with sound in a restaurant. You know, basic humanity stuff. We all know someone who's militantly against all this. They wear their ratty, torn jeans and t-shirt to their sister's wedding because dressing up is just not who I am. They're mistaking their pants for their personality, and they're not expressing their individuality. Let's face it, they're expressing their hostility, which is visible to everyone except them. So expectation can be a reasonable compass for many circumstances in life. But what if expectations get out of hand? Or if you use them as your compass almost exclusively? At that point, your individuality dissolves and you become almost entirely directed by what other people want. I addressed that problem in the Assertiveness Workbook. Many people have no personal boundaries, mainly because other people don't want them to. And they're all about going along with expectations. There really has to be some kind of balance there. Think about workers who are expected to take any level of pay or any type of behavior from employers and not object or request change or set limits or form unions or go on strike. Think about people who live in cultures that reject their sexual orientation or gender identity or race or religion or lack of religion. A lot of gay people, for example, have been told that the reason they get harassed is that they're visibly and detectably gay. If they were better at hiding who they are, no one would know. People would assume they're heterosexual, and the harassment problem would be solved. By the same token, of course, women could disguise themselves as men, and the whole problem of sexism would vanish. Religious people could deny their faith, and atheists could pretend to be churchgoers, and everything would be fine. If your racial origins are an issue, maybe makeup would help disguise those. All you have to do is erase who you are. Social change and development requires nonconformity. It requires that people say, no, this is who I am. Not what you expected, maybe not what you wanted, and yet I exist. Complete conformity to expectations is a never-ending road because the boundaries of what's considered acceptable get narrower and narrower and narrower if everyone goes along with them. I think my point in these videos is that if you're just choosing one compass to guide you, that's probably a bad idea. Maybe wisdom is developing the capacity to know when to use one and when to use a different one. But for a lot of people who have been basing life on their impulse compass, it can seem like social expectation is the only alternative. My life is governed either by my feelings or my society, and if it's my society, then I disappear. I need to go on living on impulse no matter how badly it serves me. It's either impulse or expectation, and you've got to choose. But no, as Yoda says, there is another. As a matter of fact, there are 3 more, and I'll talk about those in upcoming videos. There are other videos on this channel on the psychology of everyday life. Click the subscribe button for more. I also have an online course site, psychologysalon.com. www.teachable.com with programs for professionals and for the general public. And my books, How to Be Miserable, 40 Strategies You Already Use, How to Be Miserable in Your 20s, and the Assertiveness Workbook are available from online booksellers. Thanks for watching.